I want executable is just bin bash maybe. Oh, it doesn't like that. Hmm. Oh, it's entry point. What was I doing? Executable. Entry point. Entry point. Okay, so that overrides that, drops me in. I think you just usually add the command after the image name. You usually do, but because I did an entry point on that, if I were to do that, it would basically take the exact command in there and just append what I put after that onto that, which is the difference between an entry point and a command, because I can override the command by just putting it afterwards. It's actually it's kind of cool and clever. But okay, so the problem here, let me echo our shell, our path. Okay, so we have the home spell checker pyenv, that's fine. And then home spell checker code, that's okay. Now if I want to do a bspell.py and bspell.py, we're going to go into home directory, code words, and then this just starts working. Okay, so what did I do wrong? I did everything wrong. So this is bspell.py -d, and then we're so it's we'll just give it a full path. So home spell checker code words. That should work. Okay, now we get to go through this hopefully one last time, and then our spell checker that's been Dockerized, written by a community member, should work. Okay, Python 3.12 got installed. Okay, everything's good, yeah. So back to you. Let's do this again. So Docker run it. Let's just assume that everything is going to work. So we're going to run bspell, pass it into data. Instead of rm, we're going to give this a name again, which is just bspell like courses, Docker courses. Because I think it's stuck to whatever that was. So even if I run a different directory, it still has the same directories associated with it. I want to say that's true. But okay, we jumped in there and there we go. We have our spelling just working right here, which is excellent. Okay, so run your first container. So objectives, that looks fine. So replace objectives. I want to add it. So there's probably going to be a lot of these we have to train it to begin with. So do we like Ubuntu with that? I want to add that. Okay. Oh, interesting. So here, this is an interesting sort of problem that it ran into. It doesn't see that doesn't with this T is fine. So I don't want to add this, but okay, so that's a bug. So what is S? S is skip the file. Skip the rest of the file. So new issue. When attempting to spell check a word, or I guess the title is just doesn't is checked as doesn't. We could just put in the full thing here. So I think that's fine. It would be nice to see exactly where, especially when it's a longer line. It's like replace dropped right here. Okay, so nope, add that. Do I want this to be, oh, now, so this is interesting. So the Linux here is in lowercase, and I want to keep this as uppercase. So I think that it's auto changing that. Oh, it's checking everything for lowercase, which does make it a lot easier. Don't you want to it downloaded? Wait, did I put that in there? And downloaded? Where was that? Oh no, downloaded newer image. Okay, no, that's fine. Distro I think is fine. Wikipedia, did I capitalize that properly? No, but it's inside the URL. The best. Hello. How are you doing today? Is that in a URL? I bet that's in, yeah, that's in a URL. Skimus, hello. How are you? New tool, you were using another one I spell. Yeah, so this is a community made tool. So Hugh from yesterday made this tool and sent it to me last night. So we spent a little bit of time this morning and we Dockerized it. So it's running in a Docker container and I've limited it to only look at this thing and we've copied in the words file that it wants to use. There's some things that I think are nicer about iSpell. I can see this. there is a there is a there is definitely like room for this to become really awesome. So things that I like about this a lot, it gives a little bit, like there's the full sentence. That's really nice to sort of see in here. I like the history of like going through and like seeing them, even though it does feel like it's a little bit busy. Now, some negatives that I think can it's just like a side effect of like something pulling together really quickly, right? I would love to see colors to show, okay, where I'm going with it. This is this is lowercase here always when it's not lowercase here. So I don't know necessarily, am I adding the lowercase one to the dictionary or the uppercase one? And of course, creating a user dictionary that like can survive time would be really nice. And then also suggesting updates. Would be nice too. Also, there's a lot of words that I'm shocked are not in the words database, but we check there. Like this is the actual words, the words file from Apple. So that's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. It should really be better. Yeah, drop not being there is weird. It's super weird. But here's if we go and we take a look at the actual words dictionary, which is in user share dict. There is words here. We can bat words. So dropped doesn't exist. There's undropped, but that was the first one it found, which is super weird. Why is dropped not in there? I don't get it. But I don't believe that iSpell runs into that problem. So iSpell somehow has solved that. Where so this is just assuming that the words file is exactly what it's supposed to be, which is kind of what I assumed that it was supposed to be, but apparently it's not. Vivax, hello. How are you doing today? You're doing good enough? Well, I guess that's good enough. I mean, halfway through the week, right? Uh-oh. Uh-oh. What happened? You just spent the day making a pronouns.page card. I'm sorry. Yeah, I thought that there was a link. Nightbot, I think, thinks what we found out is that Nightbot thinks that anything that has a dot in it is a link. It's very aggressive. To be fair, domains can be links, right? Like it can actually link to something. But still, that's like I like Switch.tv. What about you? And it stopped that. Oh yeah, so it doesn't trigger on some domains because I've whitelisted a whole bunch. Like every time that I see a domain that like, okay, I can trust that domain, I throw it into a whitelist file, and then that is followed by Nightbot. So the other domain it doesn't know about, so it's like, no, you're dead, and it kills the. At least it doesn't time you out anymore. It used to time the user out. Okay, so now you're timed out for 5 minutes. Wait, what happened? Wait, what happened? Oh no. Okay, first of all, let's untime out. Untime out Vivax. Okay, Vivax, you're back. On a small channel, the streamer can manage the problem that I've noticed. So the main reason I put it on for links was because we kept on getting hit by people putting in links to extremely bad places and bad things, and then I wouldn't notice it for a little bit of time because I get sort of like focused on the code, and so that's why I put in there, and we whitelisted as much as possible. Now, why I'm curious about what that second link was. They got it. If you would like it, the thing is like I try not to like ask people to be mods too much because I also know that it's now like I'll look at it, but I trust you. You've been part of the community enough that I'd be happy to give you mod powers. If you want it, which it sounds like I do. So here, can I mod you? Yeah. Be a 13th channel you mod for. Nice. I believe as a mod, you're not you can now post links, I think. I also set, so I set Nightbot to only deny for anybody. So like if you're subscribed, and if you're a so let's see, if you're subscribed or if you're a VIP, you are allowed to post links. It's basically just anybody, like any regular chatters. That's where the link stuff happens. Pay to win, exactly. Well, the idea is that if you're paying me, then the idea is that you're probably not a scammer that's trying to like throw in a bunch of links to it. But of course, that's not necessarily true. However, there should be less of those and easier to like stop with that. So, thank you, Vivax. Also, like you're like, I think I have 2 or 3 other mods, officially, but they're not here very often. Also, Rugmat, we had another pet the cat. Oh, Zilby's eyes are open. Zilby. Oh, but he was sleeping. I do tend, Zilby gets sort of shocked pretty easily. I don't know why. Like they say that cats are supposed to hear like 14 times better than us, and they have those whiskers all over their body, not just on their faces, where they can feel air currents. And so they should be able to, like, if your hand is moving towards them, they should be able to feel that way before your hand gets there. But quite often, Zilby has no idea where I am in the house. He doesn't have any sight problems. He doesn't have any hearing problems. I think he just sort of focuses / like stops paying attention, and then like obviously gets shocked. Only by us. Everything else. Yeah, your cat often ducks away from your hand. Yeah, like cats usually can tell when you're around. The only times, obviously, when they're in deep sleep, they are they're not paying attention. But deep sleep is like a very trustworthy moment. I try not to pet him when he's in deep sleep because that's not cool. I don't want pets now. I want to go outside. Yeah. I've Zilby wants to go outside all the time. Although right now it's cold enough that I think he's realized he doesn't want to go outside. I do want to, the next time it snows, to let him outside to experience that. Because he always likes looking at snow. And during the summer, we let him out with on a leash where he can like just sort of hang around in the backyard. We can't leave him off the leash because he immediately tries to jump the fence and go play with the dogs next door. And he's never met them up close. But he thinks that he's going to have a great time with them. We have no clue what ours does outside. She just does what she wants. We don't let Zilby go outside on his own. There's we're also like closer to the bigger city. It's way too dangerous for him. And he's proven to us over and over again that he would not survive on his own in a wild. He is no warrior cat. Okay, you're in a fairly open area. If I were to, like, every once in a while we think about, okay, would we want to go move into like the mountains or, you know, someplace more remote like that? And we talk about like, okay, well, if we were to do that, would we let Zilby outside? And the only problem is that Zilby, like, there's going to be coyotes, there's going to be foxes. And I don't think that Zilby has the survival instincts to handle that. I'm just adding all of these like seconds and other things. I'm just ignoring the obviously like one-off things. So that way it'll be easier to work with. Okay, so that's another isn't, but that's okay. So what are we doing? We are spell checking all of the articles that we have in right now. And we're doing this not with, we were previously using iSpell, but Hugh, a community member who was watching yesterday, saw us using iSpell and was inspired and created a spell check in Python. And so this morning, sent it over to me yesterday. This morning we Dockerized it, so it's running in a Docker container. It only has access to the to our courses here, and we're letting it. We brought in the words dictionary that it wants to use from Apple, which theoretically is the same one according to the documentation that iSpell uses, but the dictionary, the words dictionary, is like missing a lot of things I'm finding, which means that iSpell clearly is doing something else on top of just looking in that words file. I don't know, it must have created its own at some other point in time. Because like it's things like allowed is missing, which doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Like, why is allowed missing? Creates, I could see, yeah, creates is okay. And there is at least one bug. The bug we found so far is that it doesn't respect things like quotes, no, apostrophes. So like this isn't, it's just looking at ISN. Okay, so this is VE, which is probably after an apostrophe. Yeah, from weave. Okay, privileges. So this is one of the ones where I'm like, okay, is that's a word, right? Yeah, privileges. Yeah, okay. That's it. The Coder Noob, hello. How are you doing today? You're learning AWS and you're using a MacBook, so you have a question. Can I connect to AWS EC2 Linux without PuTTY? Oh, yeah, absolutely. So on MacBooks, all of them come with SSH by default. And in fact, if you're on a Windows system, at least ever since like 10, they all come with SSH built into the terminal. So PuTTY was really there for you to be able to just use SSH on a system that doesn't have SSH, but on a Linux system and on a Mac system, we've had SSH available forever, and Windows systems modern times now do too. And so I believe it's if you go to AWS EC2 and you click on the connect and then using your own client, don't look at where it PuTTY, look at where it's like SSH something, and it should say like SSH -I. You hand it the identity file, which is essentially the that's the, well, what are they called? I forget, like the dot after it. That's the special PKI file that allows you to connect securely without like generally giving like a username and password. And then like at the username at and then domain. The PEM file, yes. So you have to download the PEM file, and then you could do SSH -I the PEM file. It has to be the correct permissions, but SSH will yell at you if you don't give it the right permissions and tell you what to set them to. And then you should be able to just get in. You do have to give it the right username, but hopefully you know what that is. And in AWS, there's only a few of them. Like Ubuntu systems, I think, are Ubuntu. I don't remember what the other ones are off the top of my head. But yeah, it shouldn't be that too difficult. Awesome, and good luck. Hopefully you're able to get in. I want to someday create an AWS course. I went to a meetup one time where there was an AWS rep there, and they told me that a huge, like, they were aware of a lot of people who there was aware of a company that had begun creating like tutorials, and like it blew up, and they were looking into it and really concerned because there was a lot of bad practices, and they were complaining to me that they see that a lot in a lot of courses. Specifically, this is specifically for AWS, so I don't know about other clouds. It's just like, oh, just do this thing, and it was like completely insecure, a terrible idea, don't do this in real life type thing. But like it works in like demos. Which is obviously not great. Doing it quickly versus doing it securely. It's a problem in teaching, I've noticed. The problem ends up being when we want to teach, it's like, okay, like for example, giving, like if I was to do an AWS course, it's like, okay, we're gonna create like, you know, an EC2 instance. And so we go through and like we click, we create an EC2 instance, and okay, it's time to now connect into that. You want to SSH. And for the security group, without necessarily thinking about it too much of like what this really means, it's really easy to say, oh, okay, we're going to set it to allow port 22 from anywhere IPv4. Perfectly fine for a demo, right? Like you're not going to, this is not a real like system that you're going into. From the teacher's point of view, everything's going to be fine. The problem comes in when a student takes this course and they don't really understand what's going on because they're starting with 0, right? They're just at the bottom of Bloom's triangle. So then they do the demo, and then now they come up with like, okay, time to do this for real. I'm going to do this for my company. I'm going to do this for my own personal thing. And then they do the exact same thing. Which, how can you blame them, right? They're going to create and open that up to the entire world. And they won't realize that that's potentially a big problem until either they get hacked or somebody tells them, hey, by the way, you shouldn't do that. And that's just a small example that like, there's like potential worse ones that can get you. You have a similar issue with teaching OOP. OOP is ultimately a way to reduce code reuse. So any example size code is usually overkill. I've gotten questions like, why are we using classes here? And my answer is to learn about classes. I would never make this class in real code, which sucks, right? Because when we're teaching and they're like, we're literally walking into that same problem that we walked into in math class. Like, what's the big joke, right? Oh, why are we learning all this stuff we're never going to use in the rest of our life? And that's because it's so hard to come up with relevant examples in a classroom scenario that aren't overcomplicated. And I'm not, for an AWS type course, I don't know if I can create a course that's like read these documents and like follow along and do that. I don't know if I can do that. It's it's gonna be way too hard, way too easy to like have that not work properly. I can point to places I've used classes, but to understand why classes were a good idea, I would almost have to explain that entire application. Exactly. And all of that is just going to confuse anybody who's still at the beginning where they're learning classes to begin with. And then that's how you end up with developers coming out of school who are immediately thinking that there is like that OOP is like, you have to follow it dogmatically to like the T. It's like, okay, we got to do everything exactly the way it's supposed to be. Albert, hello, how are you doing today? You finished reinstalling Fedora on your new disk. Excellent. Have you used Fedora before? I can't remember if you mentioned that. Okay, yeah, so you've been using it for a year. So you're still liking it enough to reinstall it again. That's good. It is nice having like a fresh operating system rebuilt. Like start over. Like usually when I build new computers or I buy new computers or whatever, I don't use the migration tools. I often just will copy over the files that I want manually and take it as a time to reorganize everything. It wants me to spell check the check mark. Yeah, that's fine. Okay, you're the same. You copied what you needed from the old disk to the new one after the installation. It's a great way. I guess like coming from a sysadmin point of view, like there's several different reasons why to do that, but like the one that I always gave that I think is like really like a big thing to do is new operating systems, especially in like home directories and other things. They have like new libraries, new file formats, new other things. Rebuilding those as opposed to just blindly dumping the old one in there allows like whatever the new thing is to exist, which usually is faster, better, you know, more good, something like that. I now use the part of the old disk that was allocated to Fedora as a scratch space for Chia. What's this Chia? I don't think I'm familiar with that. Deving is definitely not a word, but it is now according to this dictionary. Okay, inside it. That doesn't sound like a real word. Where is that in here? Oh, okay. So, well, it isn't a problem per se. The data in the database is inside the. Oh, okay. Okay, so I want to, yes, replace. We want inside. But the problem is, okay, so inside and then he is still going to be wrong, which is not caught by the spell checker. Oh, it's a proof of storage blockchain. Instead of eating GPUs, it eats hard drive space. Oh, interesting. I don't really know anything about crypto. I generally try to stay away from it just because like there's so I figured that like if I wanted to get into it, I would need to learn so much. I think this was a new line problem. Oh, containers. That's wrong. This should be containers. You can start mining with a USB hard drive and a Raspberry 4 once you have created your plot, the most energy intensive part. Interesting. I probably won't get into that right now, but maybe someday. Map. Oh, is it because it's like mapping? Where is that? Oh, and map it. So yeah, that should be just map. A basic finished plot uses 100 gigabytes of storage space, but you need close to 400 gigabytes of fast storage to create one. Oh, wow. I mean, talking about a lot of storage space, I do have a bunch of old hard drives that I've agreed to secure erase for the previous company I was at. So just sitting in my closet right now that I need to like actually go through and like start deleting. And then they don't need them back. The company doesn't exist anymore. So I can just do whatever I want them. I'm thinking about creating a SAN and maybe like a home cloud. I think I know which home cloud I want to use. I don't know about like what hardware I want to get for the sand. I don't want to build my own. I know that's like a popular thing for some people to do. I just don't have the time to do that. Even though it would be, I've always wanted to try my hand at some like physical build things. I just I need to be successful here first before I start like jumping into something like that. It is interesting from a design standpoint how you can prove that you use storage space. Yes, there's a new line problem there. It is technically possible to farm without storage, but is way more costly than having 10 petabytes. Oh, wow. The problem is 10 petabytes is still going to take up space. Like now we're just talking about physical space that we're losing. And of course, running those all together, which generates a lot of heat, which generates a lot of which takes a lot of electricity. In some places, that electricity gets prohibitively expensive at certain times during the day. Like around here, they installed smart meters for everybody's houses. So if you take electricity up between 1 p.m. and 7 p.m., they charge you way more per whatever like kilowatt or whatever you're using than the rest of the time of the day, which sucks because it means that like if you want to do anything, you have to do it in the morning or at night. And even if you get home, like if you work out in a like at a physical place and you come home, you have to wait until 7 to do anything. And if you go to bed early because you have to wake up early, then that's not going to work then. You're just never going to... Weekends, at least, they are always on cheaper electricity. Oh, I missed that one. Well, okay. Docker raising Helix, I'll need to check. I need to, when I get to the rest installs, having a go back button would be nice. As far as you remember, we always had 2 different prices for electricity before smart meters. They over here, they, at least in the places that I've lived over here, there's just been the one price. And they really try to like well, that was fun. Sylvie, you okay? It's okay. That was the electricity flipping. That was a lot of fun, but the that would have been the end of the stream. But because I have the what is it? UPS. It caught it. But like all of the electricity went off for just a second, which is not great. Last time this happened, the electricity went off for real fairly soon after. Like 1 a.m. to 7 a.m. and from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. is cheaper. So yeah, the problem, the infrastructure over here, from what I understand, I'm not a I'm not a electrician who knows like how the electrical grid works. But the places that we've worked, oh, and we're done. We've gone through them all. Okay. We're now in a countdown. I hope not. So the places that I've ever like lived at, the electrical grid doesn't seem to be set up in a way that allows anybody to like allows the electrical company to know that like, okay, this is like your electricity coming from this specifically, as far as I can tell, because otherwise they would have been doing that, but they're not. They required all of the houses to install special smart meters, which then like would track per time. And otherwise than that, it was all the meters that we had were just tracking like how much electricity was being used in general. Like it wasn't per time of day. And of course, like if you denied and you said no, you didn't want to do that, they're going to have a surcharge for you for not switching over to the new one. So of course you had no choice whatsoever. It's not a real choice. Okay, so we did we missed one. We missed one, or at least that I noticed, which was like a while back, which I forget what it was called. We'll hopefully find it when we get to it. But let's see. We updated these two. So apparently we found Docker problems in those two, which we haven't gone through yet, so we might have seen them anyways, but this is great. So we'll do a get status. Let's commit this, so that way we can always like undo / go back in case like something weird happened with it. So ran spell check. And we will continue working on this one now. Docker, which is connecting Docker containers together with networks. Okay, so this is create a Docker network. Well, I guess like it's just gonna be CRUD, right? So we want to list created Docker networks, created Docker network, attach a Docker container to a network. And that, I think that's it. That's pretty much what this is. Don't forget to remove the empty pretzels jar. Pretzels jar? Is that a reference? I don't think I get the reference. Oh, the reward. Oh yeah. Because we turned off music because it was destroying everything. Well, I turned off, you know why? I turned off music because YouTube is broken. Where is that? Reading out of pretzels. Okay, off. All right, that's turned off. All right, ad break starts. Oh, it skipped the 5 minutes and it's now ad break starts in 30 seconds. Okay, well, that sounds like it's gonna be a perfect time for a break. Now I'm gonna put on big Zilby screen for this. with the break. Now, the question really is Zilby going to take advantage of this break to steal my chair? I'd give it like 50-50 odds. I don't know. We're going to find out. Anyways, I'm going to take a quick break, and I will see you in a few minutes.